Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today we are going to be doing castles. And when we do our castles, we're going to learn about some elements of art. We're going to learn about lines and line patterns, shapes. We'll be using lots of different shapes here. You can see triangles and rectangles. And we're going to be learning about patterns because we can put lines together to create patterns. We can put shapes together to create patterns as well. So we're going to have fun decorating a castle, and you have two options. You can decorate it spooky scary, or you can decorate it like a traditional medieval castle. So that's up to you. The first thing we want to do is we want to get our paper and we want to hold it horizontally. That's the long way. This is the shorter way. So we hold it horizontal, and we're going to go ahead and start the land. We want to put land down where the castle's going to be. So I'm going to jump up from the bottom of my page, and I'm going to put a line. And we're going to be making a hill for the castle. So if you notice, it's in the center of this page. So now with that line, I'm going to continue it and then slowly slope it to the corner. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I start on this edge, come down and over, and draw right to the corner. Now, boys and girls, we always want to remember that if you make a mistake, you ignore the mistake. That means pretend it's not there and redraw where you want it to be. The line that is the mistake can always be turned into something else later on. If I made a mistake down here with a line, I could always turn it into a snake after I'm done. So just continue to draw with me, and we're going to do it step by step. The next step is to go ahead and put the main castle building in. So we're going to find the middle of our page. So I'm going to look from side to side, and I'm going to look right in the center. And then I'm going to go from top to bottom and find the middle. So the very, very middle of our page. And I'm going to draw a line right here in the middle. Now I want my line to be bigger than my hand. Find the thickest part of your hand. So I can see my line, so I'm going to need to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger on this side. Now when I put my hand down, the line is bigger than my hand. Once you have the line that is bigger than the width of your hand, we're going to now drop down straight. This is a vertical line. This was horizontal. And we learned about that the first week of art class. Drop down again, vertical. So now we have a shape that's similar to a rectangle or a square. Now we're going to make another shape. So we're giving the building the main parts. That's what we're going to do together. And then you're going to decorate it your way in the very end. So now we're going to go ahead and make two towers on each side. So I'm going to jump down from my main building. So from the top, jump down a little bit and come out with a horizontal line. You can make this as wide as you want to. This is going to be your tower. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. When you do something the same on the other side and it matches, it's called symmetrical. Same on both sides. Now we're going to jump down and down. So I'm going to draw a straight line down, straight line down. Now if your lines that come down straight are a little wobbly, don't worry, because that's just going to make the castle more scary looking. Because sometimes these old castles, they fall apart because they're so old. They're 500 years old or 700 years old, which is really, really, really old. This is a line drawing of a church in Auvergne by Vincent van Gogh. And if you look, now this church is over 500 years old. And if you look, some of these lines are wobbly or wiggly. That's because the church the roof lines are kind of sagging and wobbly. The buildings aren't that straight from settling over the years. This church needs to be restored. And that's the way Vincent drew it. He drew it the way he saw it. So if your lines are a little wobbly, that's okay. You can see in the church we have these Gothic style windows, which are pointed at the top. You could put windows in like that too, in your building. Now we're going to design the center of our building. This is a second floor to the building. It's another tower that's behind the main building. So we're going to do a large rectangle, or you can do a large square. That's up to you. So we're going to go up, up, and over. Now that we have our building completely done, this is the time that we can add the roofs and the tower tops. So the first tower top we're going to add is going to come diagonally out. Diagonally out. So I'm going diagonal up and out. Then we're going to connect it together with a straight line. And from there, we're going to add some rectangles or squares. So I'm going to draw a line up, over, and back. So that's a small square. I'm going to do the same on this side. Up, over, back. We're going to form a pattern of squares. This will make what's called a battlement at the top. Up, over, down. Up, over, down. Do you see how I skip a space? Just like when you write letters, you space it. Up, over, down. You skip a space. So now we have squares in a pattern. A row of squares. The next thing we're going to put on are the tower tops. And these could be turrets up at the top or just plain towers. Let's look at some tower tops. I've got this worksheet here, which is castle parts. And I use them with my classes quite often. And if you'd like to download them, if you're from another school, you can download them on my Patreon account. And the information will be at the end of the video. And also under the description, you can access the Patreon account link to find these worksheets. If you look at the top, we have rows of tower tops here, or rooftops. So they can be triangular in shape. They can swoop down a little bit or sag down, like we saw on some of the roofs of Van Gogh's church. You might want to make bell-shaped tower tops. So that's up to you. You could even add another battlement on each one of those tower tops, if that's how you like your castle. And here's another rooftop too, where this one's just a squared off rooftop. So these are some popular rooftops that we find in medieval architecture. And architecture is the name we give buildings in art. So now let's draw the rooftops. And you may pick any one of those rooftops that you would like, or if you would like to draw with me, I'm going to do a triangle rooftop. So I'm just going to do a diagonal line up and a diagonal line down. And you notice I take my time and I have it meet the edges neatly. So we can do the same on this side. We can go diagonally up, and then we can go diagonally down. And then we're meeting together. Now I'm going to teach you how to do stairs that are in front of our building. I'm going to show you what they look like. Rows of stairs that go down the front. First, we need a door space, so you can decide what kind of shape do you want for your door to your castle. Is it going to be square? Is it going to be curved with stone all around the edges? This is also inside a rectangle shape, and then the curve inside there. And this one has an arch with an iron gate so that no one can come through. So let's decide, and we're going to do it very large in the middle here. I'm going to do a very large curved shape. So I find my center, and I'm going to jump over from my center of the building, and I'm going to draw a line going up, around, and back down. It's going to look like a giant letter N. Now for the stairs, it's very simple. We're going to go down straight from the door on both sides and draw a line over. That's going to be the first step we come out of the castle. The next step, it's in perspective, so we're looking at it front view. So the stairs are going to get bigger as they come closer to us. So we're going to come straight across, straight across. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Right there. Now we drop down the same on both sides. Then we're going to draw a line straight across. Now the next step is getting even closer, so it's a little bit bigger. I drop down, come across the page again. It's forming a zigzag line coming down. Now I'm going to come out, and I'm going to step down, across the page. If you run out of room at the bottom, you can see I'm running out of room. That's okay. We're going to go right off the page. I'm coming out, and down again. Now you keep on going if you have more room at the bottom of your page. I ran out, so I'm not going to go any farther. And there is the front view of our steps. So let's look at it and see what it looks like. There's our steps coming out of the building. Now you want to determine what kind of castle you're going to make. Is it going to be very fancy and ornate? So you can draw decorations. Let's look at this castle. You can draw decorations on it, all different kinds of patterns and lines. So let's talk about that for a minute. We want to put some kind of line pattern in the roof. For shingles, this line pattern is just little U's that I drew. This roof pattern has simple straight lines. They go across horizontal. You could fill yours with circles, crisscross grids, which is like this. I'll show you on this one. I can come down straight. And when you do this, make it careful and neat. This is almost like a checkerboard pattern. And so then you want to match it on this side. The same. If you're going to do the shingles like this, these are little tiny letter U's. And you draw them over and over and over again. So you're going to decide what kind of pattern you want for your roof. Then you're going to decorate your door. When you decorate your door, you can add the iron grate to the door, or you could make it a wood door. So that's up to you how you want to decorate your door. I'm just going to do a simple door right here. I'll make it a simple wood door. So I'm going to come up and around. It's going to be an arched wood door. And I'm going to come down. And then you could put windows on your door if you want to. This door will open in two ways. So I'll have a handle here, a rectangle shape, and a handle here. Now we can add texture to the door by making it look like wood with wood pattern. See the grain of the wood there? And that's basically just some lines. And we use line to make pattern and texture. And then some wiggly. I kind of make little wiggly kind of U-C shapes that are wiggly, just to show texture. And this is freeform pattern. Let me show you how I'm doing it. It's freeform wiggly lines. Now again, you put your pattern. I'll color my handles in so they don't get lost in my pattern. But you're going to design your door the way you want it. Now we're going to add some other details to our castle. You can add windows. They can be circular. They can be the Gothic style, which is a little pointy at the top with a flat bottom. Rectangular. You can make them in rows. This has a curved window with a metal grate on it. This is a curved window with some iron bars on it. And this is just a plain curved window that's framed out. This is a circular window, and this is a very famous window. It's called a rose window, and it's done with colored glass inside. And you see how it forms this pattern of a flower. That's why it's called the rose window. So now you're going to put windows on your castle. If you want to follow me, you can. I'm going to just make 2 large windows on each one of my towers. And when I make the windows, I make them bigger than real life. Castles in real life didn't have very large windows, but we're going to exaggerate. And artists do that sometimes. They exaggerate to make things look a little bit better artistically. So when we look at it, we can see some more details by making it bigger. And by making our windows bigger, with a simple line around it, we can then add somebody inside the window. For example, I have a scary, spooky ghost in my window. You might want to have a knight in shining armor, or a princess, or Rapunzel, and draw her hair coming down. So that's up to you who you put in your window. But by making our windows bigger, up and around, like an N arch, we can then add people or somebody inside the window. So artists have the ability to change things because it's their picture. It's what they want. Now you can add more windows here, or even a fancy rose window. I might make my rose window up at the top here, which is a giant circle. And when I make my circles, I come around really slow and neat. And then I can add my pattern in the center. But you don't have to make your rose window. You can design it, like I said, any way you want. Here's some windows that are just rectangular. And then I'm going to do my flower by coming up and back, down and back, to the side and back, to the side and back, and then I can add smaller shapes in the middle. Up, back, come over and over. And I have a simplified version of a rose window. Let's look at some other parts that you might want to add to your building. You might want to have some flag poles or flags or just the flagpole coming up. Sometimes that looks really cool, just coming up with a beautiful circle, like a golden circle at the top. It kind of gives the tower a finishing touch. We can add more texture. We might want to show what the building is made out of. If it's made out of rocks, we can draw some texture of rock, lines using lines, or we might want to show the building's made out of bricks by showing small brick patterns. So we can do that, and I do that just in little spaces. Say if I'm going to do it out of bricks, it's rectangles. Let me blow it up so you can see. It's just small rectangles to show, hey, this is made out of bricks. And I do them randomly. I don't do them all over the place. And then maybe a few up in here. But you can add more to yours as you go along. But that's how you would show some texture of brick. We can add designs that go around the windows as well. They're like window sills. And all of these shapes just add more detail to our picture. Now, we're going to decide if we want to make this a spooky castle or if we're going to make it a medieval castle. If you do a medieval castle, then you can put people inside. If you do a spooky castle, you can put some things in that symbolize spooky. Here are some spooky symbols. Spooky, scary. We've got some bats that could be spooky, scary symbols. Maybe you want to do some spooky eyes. Little floating ghosts. Even a moon could be spooky or scary. We've got spooky, scary scarecrows and mummies. And one of the spooky, scary pictures in art is called the Scream. Right here. Edvard Munch. Here's a character from his, right here. I'll show you a picture of Edvard Munch's Scream. You might want to add the Scream person from his painting. Let's see if I can get my Scream man to scream for you. There he goes. This was a very, very famous painting. You could add him over here or down here because he's a spooky character. Gravestones, and this is a casket. A little rat or a mouse, pumpkins and skeletons. These all come from my spooky, scary worksheet. And if you want to copy this out, you can go to the Patreon account and just print this out. This one's free on my Patreon account. Here's your boo right here with spiders. So those are some spooky, scary symbols that we can add in our artwork. You can add your own spooky, scary symbols as well. I'm going to show you how to do a princess, and I'm also going to show you how to do a ghost. If you want to do a princess in here, what I start with is just the U shape for a head, and then I come down 2 lines, and then of course you just do little dots for eyes and a little line for a mouth. And since she's going to have long hair, I'm having her hair come up and around and right down. I draw a line over, and then I have a wiggly line for the hair coming down. And we can just have her arm come over this way. She's small, so we don't need lots of detail inside. And for a spooky ghost, for those kids that would like spooky ghosts, we're going to do an oval shape, another oval shape, very close together. And a long oval in the middle. And I usually color these in. And then I'm going to do a line on the top and a wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So there we have our ghost. Now, I'm going to give you time to decorate your picture, and you can decorate it any way you want to. If you want to draw along with me now, I'm going to show you how to make some pumpkins, a cat, a ghost, and we'll see some other things if we have time, maybe a spider web. So we're going to start off with some bats. So we're going to do, on this side, we're going to do a moon, a nice large circle full moon. And then we're going to put in some bats. And for the bats, I simply do a small circle. And then I do a line on the top. And these are actually little tiny triangles. And I color in the head. And then I'm coming straight out and straight out. Then we're going to do rows of curvy lines. So I come down, that's diagonal, and then I'm doing bump, 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 bump. And then I'm going to put right under his head a U and color that in. Then this gets colored in. I make his end pointy. The end of the wing is pointy. And then I add a bump right here, just a little bump. Let's look at a real bat. We can see how his wings are curved. They have these curve lines. That's why we did those little up and down curve lines. And he's got really tiny, small ears. And then they do have a little bit of a bump right here coming up on the top of the wing. That's why we did the top of the wing. And when artists usually do bats, they put them in a grouping of 3 or more. Usually when bats come out, they come out in groups. Whole colonies of bats. So we can put a couple more bats in here the same way, but I make them in different sizes. I don't make them all the same. Little triangles for ears. You can even do the U shape here. And then come out for your body, and then your curves. And a little bump here. Bats live in colonies, and they usually come together, and they do good for the environment. They eat lots and lots of bugs. Okay, so now let's do a cat. We can put a little cat over here. So if we're going to do a scary cat, it has an arch to it. So I'll bring it up a little bit bigger. So I do an N-shaped curve, and I do another N-shaped curve. So that's our cat body. And then we're going to do a circle for the head, 2 triangles for the ears. And then the scary cat is like startled, so he has an arched back, and his tail goes straight up. Straight up, like he's scared. Yikes! And then I color that in a little. Now you can always color this in later on your own. Just a little bit of color quick. So that's a scaredy cat. Got some spikes for his fur sticking out. Now we're going to do some flying ghosts. So if you want to do flying ghosts with me, you can. You don't have to. I'm going to come to this area of my paper, and I'm turning my paper to the sideways. And then I'm just going to do 2 ovals, just like we did the ghosts before, and another oval here. Now I'm going to draw around the oval, and I'm going to turn my paper straight again. And then I'm coming around, giving it very wavy. See how I shake my hand? Shake, 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 and taper it off to nothing. He's just flown out of the window. And of course, you always want to vary the size. And you can make a smaller one too up here that's far away. So we do it the same way, super small now. There we go, right out. So they're flying up and off. And now, if you want to decorate with pumpkins, you may. And a pumpkin, I'll show you how to draw a pumpkin. I'll put a few down on the hill over here. And again, these are all optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. A pumpkin, I start off with the stem. Let's do a curly-Q stem. Woo! So I come up, down and around, and over. And then I'm going to do a big curve for a C. And a big backwards curve. And then I do curves on the inside just to make the lines of the pumpkin. So there's a jack-o'-lantern. A jack-o'-lantern has a face that's carved. That's the difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you finish up your scary picture, adding more details. Now let's look at this one that I finished off. You can add more of this battlement, these shapes here to make your pattern. You could put grass in. You can do lines, or this is actually nails that I put in mine that you might want to add to yours. So I hope you have fun, and you can add, like I said, anything else you want to your picture. And I'm going to show you some examples of what my students have made.